Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with fabulous concert programs. Oh my God, I love this series. We're at number 10, I think. Let me just take a look down here because I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, number 10. Yeah, number 10 already. And we're in the process of doing a Martinu Symphony Cycle. And we're up to Symphony number 4. And for Symphony number 4, well, Martinu's Fourth Symphony, let's talk about it for a minute. I've had the great fun of being able to play it. And I even had a cassette of my recording of it with the orchestra. Oh, God, it was great. But it's a beautiful work. It's Martinu's second largest symphony after the first. It's a big four-movement piece, very, very lyrical, very songful. It has just wonderful tunes. And I don't know, it's a real crowd pleaser of a piece too, but it's a second half piece. It really belongs in the second half. It ends a concert with an enormous rush of energy. It just has this da da. Well, it sounds like the Marlboro Man. Actually, it's da 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 da, and then it goes bum ba dum da 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 dum chugga 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 crash. That's the ending. I got to do the chugga 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 crash part as a percussionist. Oh, God, and the big tam tam whack in the middle of the finale. There's one in the first movement too. I mean, you just have more fun playing this. You really do. And I remember when we were rehearsing the slow movement. It was a community orchestra. The orchestra, they couldn't get it. They just couldn't get the slow movement because the harmony starts out with beautiful consonant floating chords, and then it does a Martinů, which means it becomes very dreamy and almost, kind of, I wouldn't say expressionistic, but, it's blurry and phantasmagorical, and the harmonies, they don't go where you expect them to. And the string folks were, it's a community orchestra. They were used to playing like Handel Concerti Grossi, and so nothing was going where they were. They were just so insecure. They just couldn't figure that they were playing the right notes. And the conductor was going crazy. He was a really, really nice guy. And I was the head of the repertoire committee inflicting these pieces on the orchestra. And they were so good about it. They were so interested in music and they just wanted to do all this stuff. And we had such a great time. So I sat down with them afterwards. I felt very guilty. I said, listen, try this. It's just a suggestion. I said, tell them to play the entire opening of the slow movement fortissimo, one note at a time. Let them hear what the harmony is. Let them hear just how wrong, how right it is to sound wrong, and maybe that will help. So he did that. He said, okay, folks, I want you to play the whole thing fortissimo, just one note after another, one chord after another, with each beat. Play the next note. And it worked. It worked fabulously. Once they figured out that that was really what Martinů wrote, they didn't think they were wrong anymore. And the whole thing went beautifully. It really did. It was a wonderful performance. So how do we find a program that ends with this absolutely astounding symphony? Well, I decided to do a Czech program. 4 Czech composers, but not like as I usually do. I want variety in the overall. It's like, the Vulcans, infinite diversity and infinite variety. And you know what I mean? There's a lot of range to Czech music. You don't want everything to sound like a Slavonic dance. So what did we pick? First, Janácek, Jealousy, the original overture to his opera Jennifer, which became a completely separate work. It's only 5 or 6 minutes long, and it's a wonderful, passionate, fabulous concert opener. It's amazing more people don't do it. It really does. It's perfect. I mean, it's like the serious version of the Marriage of Figaro overture. 5 minutes, everyone loves it. It's over quickly, and you're ready to go for the next thing on the program. So after that, well, I'm taking a bow to convention and doing a concerto, the Dvořák Violin Concerto, which seems to have finally come into its own. It used to be when I was growing up, nobody played the Dvořák Violin Concerto. There was an old recording with Milstein, or a couple with Milstein, he did it. And of course, Josef Suk did it. And, but you just didn't hear it. It wasn't programmed. It existed in a couple recordings, and that was it. Now, finally, the world's violinists have woken up to the fact that a great composer like Dvořák wrote a violin concerto. That now it's been recorded to death. Of course it has. Everyone in the world is doing it, and they should, because it's a glorious, glorious violin concerto. So you get a hotshot soloist and just play the pants off of the Dvořák violin concerto. It's actually just a great, great piece for a sort of first half ending. Most violin concertos, they do it, but if you do a classical one like Beethoven or Brahms, those are long works. 40, 45, 50 minutes. The Elgar is like endless. These romantic pieces, and the other ones like Mendelssohn's and the Bruch, they're rather slender and very, very well known already. I mean, they're done to death, although I would do them more to death if I could, because they're wonderful too. They deserve the attention. But the Dvořák is just well known enough, and just it's big enough and interesting enough and long enough. It's almost exactly 30 minutes. I mean, exactly. It's perfect length with 3 absolutely equal length movements that Dvořák caught so much crap for from Joachim and his publisher, all who said he had to write a big, long symphonic opening that's 25 minutes long or something. And he said, no, screw you. As a result of which nobody played it because it wasn't, it had a reputation after that. But it's just perfect to have a lovely and refreshing first half that isn't going to make you feel when you come back for part 2. So you go to intermission, and then you come back after intermission, and after intermission, we have another solo work. Why not? I mean, really, why can't we do more than one? But it's not a violin or instrumental solo. It's Mahler, the Songs of a Wayfarer. Now, the Songs of a Wayfarer are probably the most Czech-sounding work that Mahler wrote. And Mahler was a Czech composer. Yes, he was a German-speaking Czech, and he regarded himself as he regarded himself as Jewish, which meant that he was a stranger everywhere, and nobody accepted him as part of their crowd, except possibly other Jews. So, but he was a Czech composer. I mean, the Czechs always knew it, and were happy to claim him when they finally could, and far more enthusiastically than the Germans did. So there you go. But the Songs of a Wayfarer are full of that sort of Slavic, Jewish, klezmerish, Czech melancholy and wonderful folk-like influence. It's a major element in Mahler's musical physiognomy. And we don't get to hear the Mahler song cycles quite as much as we do like big, gigantic symphonies and things like that. So I think that would make just a wonderful way to start off part 2. It's only about 20 minutes long in 4 songs, and the Martinů is about 35, 40 minutes. So you really have, yes, it's a longer second half than the first half, but the first half was designed so that people can sit through it easily. And I think the contrast, having a singer do 4 songs and then a big symphony, you're not going to have any problem. You really aren't. And it's just a wonderful opportunity to display a couple of soloists and show the range, once again, of music by great Czech composers. And then you can wrap it up with Martinú's fabulous Symphony No. 4. Da da dum ba da da dum da 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 dum chugga 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 crash, and everybody's on their feet, cheering and screaming and carrying on, and you will be too. I think this is a great program for home listening. I really do. It's just a terrific pile of music. And, I mean, Czech composers, Czech music generally is just so fabulous. I mean, come on, let's face it, what could be better? It's like going to Italy and having Italian food. It's all good. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just going to be good because the culture is that way. And that's the way I feel about Czech music. The culture just is that way, at least in this period. You can't go wrong. You just can't go wrong. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.